Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Entertainment of Excellence, the podcast where we talk about films, TV, all of it. Hi, I'm Ollie.
I'm Thom.
And I'm Ben. And I'm not going to say we got the intro right this time because we're going to look back at it and do something really stupid like last time.
Yeah.
Said last time as well.
If we have done it right, then that means we can have the compilation of failed intros.
Hooray!
Yeah. And then we'll
That's
release
our
it.
reward.
We'll release it, and then the next episode we'll just screw it up again. So today we talking
just watched
about
a
Mile
movie.
22.
It was a movie.
It was a movie, Tom. I agree.
You can describe it as that, yeah.
Yeah.
Could also be described as a film.
Mile 22.
Yeah.
Could also
Peter
be described
Berg
as a box
directed.
office bomb.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
And honestly, I think for good reasons, because we'll get more into detail, but it wasn't very good, I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
That is
Sorry.
a hot take.
Sorry, I disagree with the top review that says good action. Sorry.
Yeah. So, just a warning that we'll be discussing a bit later on possibilities for a sequel and the twist at the ending. So, this may contain spoilers.
This does contain spoilers.
Yeah. So, I guess to start, let's just do a quick plot summary, if we can make it quick, because it's that weird and complicated.
It's only an hour and a half, though. So it starts off with like some mission to get some caesium, which they got from a tip-off, and then they break in, but all they find are paintings, and they're like, "Oh no, this isn't the caesium," and then they get really annoyed, and then Uwais turns up. Does anyone remember how? Does he just
He turns
appear?
himself
I think
in.
he just appears.
Just burning his passport and then he just drives a car.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he has that. Yeah, that's it. He holds the hard drive and stuff. And then he's like, this hard drive has the location of the caesium, but I'll only give you the code to get into it if you take me to America. So basically, the movie is taking him to the airport, or to like an airstrip, where they can get him on a plane to America so that they can find out where the caesium is. So
It's a lot of countdowns.
Yeah, there's the countdown because he put a countdown on the hard drive. It has like an 8-hour countdown before it wipes. They also have to get there before the plane takes off because for some reason the plane can't stay. I don't know why, but it can't stay. It has to go.
For plot convenience.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think that's the only two. We made up other ones while we were watching it, but
The problem
unfortunately
is-
not all of them existed.
Yeah, the problem is the film falls into the trap of having a lot of tropes from thriller movies and action movies. Like, obviously the countdown, and in this case we've got second countdown on top of that. And then there's just like lots of like action sequences with like shaky cam and quick cuts and everything. Except, I guess the problem with this one in particular is just the directing is really off-putting, and it really doesn't help that the story itself isn't like the best. It's just kind of thrown together. I feel.
It's like it's obviously there to serve the action. They just want to have a thing of taking someone from point A to point B with some action along the way.
Point B being 22 miles away.
Obviously, yeah.
By quick cuts, we mean like 5 a second, maybe?
Yeah,
It
there were
was
definitely
sometimes
points. And like you can use quick cuts effectively, but the problem with this is a lot of them are really close up, and then you'll cut to like 3 different shots from different angles of the same thing in like 1 second. So it's really hard to get a perspective of where everyone is.
There's also all really close-up shots as well.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty nauseating at times.
yeah, and sometimes someone would get shot, and you're like, "Oh, where was that person?"
Yeah, they don't really have the best establishing shots, so you can get a perspective of where everyone is.
Whoa, Ben. I think. What about that one time where we got to see 10 seconds of Aiko burning his passport, and it had about a 20-second establishing shot of the city, and then it cut to another establishing shot, which lasted for a further like 5 or 10 seconds.
It's like the Birdemic shots.
Yeah, that one was uncomfortably long.
For the second half. You're just begging for it to cut.
Yeah.
And it just cuts about 100 times.
Yeah.
That was silly.
Some really weird directing choices made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lack of like fluidity, I guess you could call it. So there was, so you couldn't see the cause and effect apart from one shot where I was very happy. So it'd be a lot of times like shot of one person shooting cut to a different shot of a person being shot. So you don't actually see, but it doesn't feel like you can sense the movement of the action or anything. It's like, this is happening, now this is happening, now look at this thing that is happening. And Aiko Uwais is probably doing some cool martial arts, except we're going to cut so fast and zoom in on his nose so you can't see it.
The one shot that did show cause and action, the death of Expendable Man number 4.
Yeah.
They were emotional.
It was a shot of someone's head where you could see the gun, and they shot someone in front of them that then died. I was very happy.
Yeah.
Finally. I could see what was happening.
Yeah. One of the questions I have before we sort of go into the deeper ones is just what is the point in this film? Like, what has it actually added to any? Like, it just exists.
Yeah.
It serves no purpose.
Well, I mean, you could say that about a lot of action films, but at least some action films kind of fit some kind of niche that hasn't been done before. So, I mean, I'm trying to think, Die Hard, having a load of people held up in a building and stuff, I don't think had been done too much by that point, and obviously had some cool lines and iconic moments. Or The Fugitive, just having some more mild-mannered guy on the run kind of filled some things, but they didn't necessarily add anything maybe to the... I mean, they probably did. I'm sure I'm offending some massive fans now, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem with...
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is it's just... The story is very generic and shoved in. The action is not shot the best, so you can't really enjoy it to its full potential. Like, I get you don't always need a good story for like a good action movie, because like there's John Wick, but the problem is like John Wick has really good action shots, and doesn't like.
Yeah, I mean, the action is amazing.
Overuse.
That's because
it
doesn't cut really quickly. It's really slick. The movement is clear and really nice.
Maybe less so
that's just all lost here. And John Wick came out before this, so there's no excuse.
Yeah.
The third John Wick, literally every shot is just a dog like attacking someone.
Yeah.
Just that scene with just the
John Wick 3 is
dogs.
still good.
It's good.
John Wick 3 is still better than this.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, way better.
And it's, I guess, one of the only redeeming qualities of this movie is like Iko Uwais and his like martial arts scenes, because I mean his acting as well. He was probably one of the most convincing actors in this.
Yeah.
Because I got like the impression that Mark Wahlberg was just playing like a caricature of just the stereotypical action anti-hero or whatever.
Mark Wahlberg on like a massively intense sort of like training program for this. What was the actual? What was the purpose of that? Yeah, no, it's not. It's even if he had any shots with like his top off and fair enough if you are Aiko, because he had quite a cool action scene with him when he was sort of like handcuffed down.
Yeah.
None of that happened with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mark
yeah, he did
Wahlberg
do a really big training plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Aiko's scene where he was cuffed down and was destroying these people who were trying to assassinate him was like, that was probably one of the best scenes of the movie, to be honest, because it was.
Yeah, that was the best one.
It was not just convincing, but like Aiko is like a martial artist. He does Indonesian pencak silat.
He does.
And,
You might be.
he's done a.
You might be wondering why we picked this film, and it is actually to do with Aiko. It's quite a long story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just love Aiko.
It involves like someone we know who's a really, really big Bruce Lee fanboy. And
he provided the commentary over The Big Boss, which we've also seen.
Yeah.
With commentary, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said he was talking about how he'd spoken to a lot of people and they were all influenced by Bruce Lee, and he'd said, I've talked to Aiko, who does Indonesian pencak silat. He's going to be in a film with Mark Wahlberg called Mile 22. So
Wow.
we had
Word for
to
word.
check it out.
Brilliant impression.
Oh, thank you.
The keeper of the flame.
But not the world authority on Bruce Lee. Yeah.
Bit of an in joke there.
Yeah, you probably don't have a clue what we're on about now. Well, let's bring it back to, I guess, the characters, because, like, they weren't the most fleshed out, but I guess at least they spent a bit of time establishing, like, Mark Wahlberg's
Well, it felt
character.
like tropes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Wahlberg's character was like, he's really smart, so he's annoying, and you know, he has a rubber band that he flicks, and you're like, right, okay. So it's kind of, it felt to me like built up from tropes, but I didn't care about him at all. I thought he was really. And some people were like, but that's what Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be like. Well, I'm like, well, then it's the writers. They need to try and make him likable.
Like, I was
cared
rooting
more
for
about
Aiko for the whole film.
Yeah, I cared more about Aiko, and he turns out to be like the villain. So
Yeah. Oh, spoilers there. Ooh.
Well, we've already been over that.
Yeah, the thing with Mark Wahlberg is it's built up from tropes. Remember, his parents died. Obviously, like, if you have an action hero, the parents have to have died. He didn't. I kind of got the impression that he didn't really care. I don't know if that was like the character he was playing, or whether that was just like the actor himself. Like, it felt like he was half-arsing it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, like with Aiko, you got the impression that he was on the ball all the time, but with Mark Wahlberg and his, I don't know if it's him or his character, but they just seemed kind of like they didn't really care about what happened.
Yeah,
Aiko's fan club here.
Well, the thing with Aiko is he sort of had like minimal dialogue, which sort of made him like a bit mysterious and enigmatic to a degree. I think that, which sort of assists when he turns out to be the villain.
Well, let's
Can we also talk about the random bits from the future of Mark Wahlberg being interviewed by some people about something?
Yeah, that's
Which,
really
well,
weird.
was never
there was
actually
quite a lot
explained.
of scenes where there's quite a lot of scenes where they sort of concurrently told two stories, like flitting back and forth every couple of seconds, and that. Well, the thing with this is originally it sort of underpins the whole film, but then there's just like a half an hour chunk where you don't get any reference to it at all.
Yeah, but like, what is the interview for? Does it really explain it? It felt like just an excuse for Mark Wahlberg to say "quote unquote" cool things during, you know, the movie in between the action, where he was really just saying quotes that meant nothing.
I mean,
He's talking about like the fog of war, and anywhere can be a battlefield, and two people in a room can be a battlefield, and that's the chaos and that's the fog, and you're like, what? What are you on about?
I mean, I didn't even pick up it was in the future until, like, I guess the Ico scene where he was beating up the people who were trying to assassinate him. I didn't even pick up it was from the future. I just thought it was like him in another room whilst all this was going on.
Yeah.
It was,
You can see like why you would think that because of the just like random cuts and stuff, and especially when it
Yeah.
was happening with it was like that the woman on her phone to her. Oh yeah, she had a family. Remember that? We had
Oh.
one scene, a fake emotional scene with her family, which was interspiced with Mark Wahlberg being terrible to some woman that came in scared about her money. I don't know. That was random as well. I mean, did they just have that family bit so that because it's implied she like dies or something on the plane at the end?
Mm.
I think they just did
Yeah.
it to make it sad.
I think it's just to show that she's not a caricature when she really is just a caricature. It's and I didn't understand. There was like some sort of weird, like, I guess comedic undertone with like her when she like got that divorce app, which means that she can like swear when she texts her husband, which was kind of odd.
What was that? The
I don't
family
know.
wizard thing? What? There's so many things that are just put in and then never really introduced again. It's like, oh yeah, Mark Wahlberg's an orphan. Oh yeah, his brain moves really fast and he's got a rubber band thing.
It's that one line where it's like, do you think I believed any of my 3 ex-wives when they told me that
Yes!
they loved me? No.
What?
Yeah, that
The
just came out of
really
nowhere.
ex-wives.
It was just a yikes.
Wow. I mean, he had
Out of the
one.
blue.
Yeah, that's random. And also the fact that he served in like the army just pops up in the opening credits,
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. Crazy credits.
it's so weird.
I mean, another thing about the comedic undertones, it happens with other people, like the big twist at the end where basically it's revealed that Aiko was working for the Russians all along. How did he actually help the Russians?
So
Because he did give them the info still. Wasn't that like still correct? I mean, it should. Oh, I mean, they killed everyone in the operating thing, in the operation place.
yeah, I think
Because
and
they
it might have
killed
been
that one woman's son.
it might have been fake info anyway. I guess like there's no way of verifying.
Yeah, but it's
it if they're all
implied
dead.
because it's supposed to be like it was supposed to be a franchise. So you'd think they were going to go to all the locations, but it's kind of random to actually have them.
Yeah,
That was weird, but it was just funny when John Malkovich goes. You said he's not a double agent, and I jokingly said he's a triple agent, and then John Malkovich does say he's a triple agent.
Yeah. So just like
I mean,
Malkovich.
can't help but laugh at that.
So just to make it like really clear, because there's been a lot of people searching online like to have the ending explained. So the whole plot of the movie is sort of around these Russian agents have got some caesium which can be used to make dirty bombs, and this CIA task force is trying to get the caesium off them. And Aiko, who's like a police officer, has this information on where the caesium is, but he's being hunted by his own government and wants asylum in the US in return for giving them the information. And the twist at the end is he gives them the information, but it turns out that he's actually working for the Russians and gets all of the people who are dissecting the information killed. And so basically he escapes his own country free and like foils the CIA's plan, I guess, because he was working for the Russians all along. So yeah, he's not a double agent, he's a triple agent. Which is a bit complex, I guess, but it makes sense.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty like, ugh, is this real?
It was, yeah. I'm not gonna say it was expected, but like it was just, it didn't seem to have as much of an impact as I thought it would. Like, it was just like, oh, Aiko's a triple agent. Wow, I'm so surprised. Yeah. And then, okay, so
It's obviously going to be like someone would betray them somehow.
Yeah,
The problem that we had was before it even started, we knew there was going to be some sort of twist. So the whole way through, it was just sort of anticipating when it's going to happen, and obviously you couldn't really work out what the specifics were. But
I mean, I was thinking it was going to be John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's only because we thought, like, oh, I guess the person at the top.
Yeah. And then, so the ending, right? It leaves it kind of open that there could be a sequel, and so there originally was going to be a sequel planned, and they announced that they were going to make a sequel. But the problem is it like kind of flopped at the box office. So the budget was $50 million, and it made, well, like up to $50 million, and it made 66 million. But in its opening weekend, it made like around a fifth of its budget, which is not great because you're trying to get about half your budget in the opening weekend. And critics and audiences didn't like it. So it was not very well received, and it's unsure whether the sequel's going to go ahead. Oh, and also there was going to be this weird, like, web series called, like, the Kiev Exchange that also has Peter Berg directing it, which it said it was going to be planned for a late 2018 release, but now it's 2020, and nothing's come to fruition, so I'm assuming that was just scrapped. So
Yeah.
I mean, I see why. And it just feels like this kind of action film is outdated now.
Yeah.
I always keep coming back to it, but John Wick came out, which, is kind of like a game changer. I mean, obviously the Avengers films, which is probably more similar to action than this, but like, Captain America: The Winter Soldier just handled it better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, it sort of reminds me of. I don't think Thom saw it, but Ben, do you remember when we saw Angel Has Fallen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, the only problem with that, I mean, it wasn't a great film, but it was almost made even worse because literally every time anyone swore, the whole cinema just erupted with laughter. It was so dumb.
What?
Yeah.
It was so
I don't know
weird.
if it's just like a really immature audience, or the scenes in this where I can't remember who, but I think it might have been, I can't remember any of their names. Someone just like starts swearing all the time. I can't even imagine what the audience would have been like then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Wasn't it an Angel Has Fallen that also where there was like a really like terrible joke, but someone was just absolutely roaring with laughter?
Yeah.
And
It happened in Joker for me as well. People laughing at like really disturbing parts. Like,
Whether it's like
I can't remember.
do you
Anyway,
think everyone would have been laughing at this movie when Mark Wahlberg declares that his 3 ex-wives didn't love him? Ha 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 ha.
Oh, it was just. There were so many quotes where, I mean, there was a point where he just swore loads because they obviously couldn't think of a cool thing for him to say. And the things that they think like were cool just either made no sense or were really ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it was just like, or just really cheesy, like that one. It's like, do I believe in Santa? No. Do I believe in the Tooth Fairy? No. It's like, well, I'd hope not, because you are like a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a contrast between just
Like,
really stupid dialogue.
Did I believe that the comms were secure? Yes. It's like, well, it doesn't sound like you're that cynical, really, if you just only don't believe that the Tooth Fairy and Santa aren't real.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's try and think of some good points, I guess, because we've just been ragging on this film for like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Soundtrack is serviceable.
The soundtrack was good. Yeah.
The hip hop.
No, not that bit. I'm talking about the general score. There was a cool guitar bit, I think. I was like, this is pretty cool.
There was a groovy bit in 7/8, which was nice.
Oh yeah, I was counting. I was like, ooh,
which is kind of interesting.
7/8. And also, I do say that. I mean, the action scene with Aiko like handcuffed to the hospital bed or whatever was actually okay. I mean, it still wasn't amazing, but it was, it was pretty good. It was the only time that I was like, ooh, in the action.
If it
There
was
was another
breaking
properly,
people's legs and stuff.
There's another one with Ica, but that was one of the examples.
Yeah, I
where
mean, that was just the editing was just too awful, and I couldn't see anything. And it would just randomly cut to Mark Wahlberg as well at points, and I didn't realise. So someone would get shot. I was like, when did Ica get a gun? I was like, oh, that was Mark Wahlberg. Oh, okay.
It was. I know that it seems like the only thing we liked about this film was Ico, but it was a good mix of having the genuinely good actor who could also sort of. He obviously is a professional martial artist, so I presume he did all his own stunts and action scenes.
Yeah.
But he sort of outshines all of the real actors who that was the only thing they had to do. The other thing that I liked, I know it sort of sounds negative again, but it didn't really it didn't feel like it dragged on that long. Like, I think it went quite quickly. I know we said the same about Birdemic, but
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like if it felt like it dragged on, or if they'd added another half hour, I don't think I could have coped. But it just kind of
it's only 90 minutes.
Course. Yeah, it kind of ran its course, served its purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't ever like, oh man, this scene doesn't need to be in it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess, it's fast paced. I mean, that's the only reason I watched it was because it was an hour and a half. I'm like, that's bearable.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound the greatest, but
yeah. Well, I'll
include I mean, if it was 3 hours, no.
No way. But yeah.
If you had the Mile 22 and the sequel, it might be 3 hours. Mile 23.
Also, can we discuss that? People still don't know what the sequel would be called. Would it be called Mile 23 or Miles 22-2? Which one sounds less ridiculous? Ooh, the miles have gone down. The prequel.
or Kilometer 22.
The prequel shows him with all of his 3 ex-wives.
Wife 23.
The prequel just says like Ico with like his family and getting out his passport ready to burn it in preparation for the Mile 22.
It shows him going to buy the elastic band from the shop and putting it onto his wrist.
All the things are falling into place. Yeah,
that was one of the moments that I just didn't like about him, where it was like one of the agents' birthday and they get a birthday cake, and I was like, no birthday cake because we failed the mission, and just sweeps it onto the floor and breaks the plate. And they're in a cafe, so I mean, the poor they've just made that cafe have to like pay for a new plate and ruining that perfectly good birthday cake. It's like, because they failed a mission, and it wasn't even like her fault.
Yeah.
And it turned out that it did have caesium in it. I just didn't like it.
I guess. Actually, it's a very, very small thing, but I guess something I did like was like those shots of Aiko where it was like his focusing on his fingers and this sort of like little meditative, thing he's doing where he's like touching each one of his fingers. Like that's kind of cool because it sort of builds tension because you've seen earlier on in the film what he's capable of, and then like even before the first action sequence, you kind of getting this sense that he's really powerful. So yeah, I like that. Only shots of the film I felt were actually needed.
Nice.
I thought he was going to get ready for. Have you seen Kill Bill? Have you seen
Yes.
Kill Bill?
Yeah.
You know the the pressure point thing that they does at the end, like 5-finger pressure point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. 5-palm heart
I thought he was
explosion.
going to do that. That'd have been epic. He just is doing that the whole film, and they just.
That ending is so like Tarantino. I love it.
Yeah.
But that works. That's like ridiculous. That works. But it's like you take 10 steps and then your heart will explode.
Yeah.
What an ending. It might not be 10
small
steps.
thing we picked up on was that like small girl who just has like no emotional reaction to what's going on.
Yeah, to like people being shot and killed around her. She's not screaming at all, and then she just sees Mark Wahlberg and that other guy. Oh no, he's with Aiko actually, isn't he? He sees Mark Wahlberg and Aiko Uwais, and then just decides to point them towards the other woman agent. And it's like, how did you know they were with her? Why are you helping them? Why are you not running away screaming?
I want to help you.
Like the way we haven't referred to a single person as their actual character name. It's just always the actor.
Okay. So Mark Wahlberg's character is called Jimmy, and that is all I remember. Aiko is the asset.
Silver, I think. I don't know.
Malkovich is Bishop.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I thought it was Mother, and they were Child 1 and Child 2.
Yeah, it was. The names weren't memorable, and they weren't. I think that's a good indicator of if you care about the characters or not. If you can remember their names and a bit of their backstory, then you care about them. But here, we just didn't care. We didn't learn their names. We didn't care about their backstories. Like, I don't know. Even like not backstories. Like, I guess, like, I don't know. It might not be the same for you, but like if you're talking about like, I don't know, John Wick or something, you're like saying John rather than Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. There's John Wick and Winston and, you know, those fellas.
Because you care about the characters. But like here, it's just... here it's just Mark Wahlberg and Aiko Uwais and John Malkovich.
That one guy and that one woman.
In the first 5 minutes, because we were watching on Netflix, and I had the subtitles on because it was really quiet at the start. Complete opposite to Good Time.
Opposite of Good Time.
Yeah, I had the subtitles on, and it just referred to everyone as man. So, like, by 5 minutes in, there was someone speaking called Man 7, and it's just how we're meant to keep track of all of this. Like...
What was the bit at the start, actually? There was someone going into a house. I forgot that happened. And also the Russian bit in the middle, which was supposed to like establish the twist, I guess, just was so random. And you're like, why?
I didn't mind the bit at the start.
Yeah, the bit at the start was
an
just
alright start piece.
It was just setting up the whole thing with caesium and the Russian agents.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of to get you into the action, I suppose, and give you a little bit of, like... the background. Yeah.
There was also a lot of just random scenes that I guess would sort of look cool in the trailer or something. But do you remember that bit where, again, I have no idea who he is, but there's someone just has his phone and there's just like a bunch of chess pieces on it.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
I can't remember what that's about.
No, and that sort of just intrudes the dialogue that's going on between two people with just random cuts to flashbacks or flash forwards. I don't even know. Yeah,
it was so weird. Just that made no sense, but it did look cool. I feel like, that was definitely included for the trailer.
Not that we ever watched the trailer.
No, we don't care enough. So, let's wrap it up. What were your impressions of the movie as a whole?
I mean, I guess I didn't really get bored, but it was like disorientating and weird, and I don't know. I'd probably give it like, but I'm trying to decide between. I'll give it 4.5.
A 6.1 on IMDb, which isn't awful.
It is not a 6.
It actually is. Well, on this, but then the Metascore's 38.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't deserve a 6.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. This is tense. I'm trying to somewhere between a 4 and a 5, and I don't want to go a 4.5.
That's what I did. That's what I was trying to decide.
I just
say 4.5.
I'm just right. Okay, I just really didn't care about the characters. The plot was trope filled. The action was all right, but like the directing was so terrible. I'm gonna go 4.3.
Because we tried to pick a film. We were looking for films that are like bad, but not like Birdemic.
Yeah, because Birdemic, although it's objectively terrible, you could still enjoy it. So I think we were just saying like it's 10 in terms of enjoyment, but 0 in terms of quality. So we gave it a 5. But this, it's not only bad, but it's not really very enjoyable. And like, I'm going to include a link in the description for you to buy it, but like, I don't think you should, because you watch it once and then I doubt you'll ever want to watch it again.
Yeah. I'd probably rate it a little bit higher. 4.7.
Are we averaging at 4.5 then?
Probably the long.
Did you say 4.3?
Yeah.
7.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, 4.5.
That was probably the longest review section we've ever done. We just have to think about it so much. It's a big decision.
So, this week we didn't get any submissions for people to.
We've not had time to do them.
Well, yeah, but so just to remind you that if you're a creator of like any form of entertainment, appropriate that is, so just like books, short films, music, if you're a band, if we even said like poetry, because Ollie does A-level English and stuff, just like DM us on Twitter or Instagram with a link. Also, I guess we should probably specify, we don't want to be like cheap and ask for like free copies of stuff, but like, you know, if we have to buy it and it's like really expensive, then it's unlikely we'll do it. Like if it's just an ebook for like £2, then sure, okay, we'll do that. But you know, if it's like above, I don't know, £10 and we don't think it's worth it, then you know we're not gonna do it. So also,
don't make it like, because we probably wouldn't spend a whole episode on it, would we? It would just sort of be like a section.
Yeah, like
maybe not like
we did with Crow Buntry last week, just like a 10-minute segment where we just sort of give overall impressions and like constructive criticism if we have any. Yeah. But we're more than happy to review your stuff. Artwork as well, if you're like an artist on Instagram or something. We're happy to do that. So yeah, just contact us and hopefully we'll have some stuff to do next week. So let's just move on to recommendations, because we have some this week.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
You can if you want.
Okay. I've been watching a cult sitcom classic. Community, which actually I think has got bigger over the years, so you may have heard of it. I've now watched the first 3 seasons, so before it got transferred over to the Yahoo streaming service. Yes, that existed, but not for very long. It was created by Dan Harmon, who also made Rick and Morty, and it's just a great sitcom that like about these people in a community college, a group of friends, and it's one of those where it sounds like a standard sitcom, but it's got so many great episodes that like are really outside the box. Like the paintball episodes really did a lot for the show, just which actually has weirdly really good action, and 2 of them are directed by the Russo brothers, because I think they also helped a lot in like the production of the show and stuff. So I mean, you've got the directors of Avengers Endgame, bloody paintball episode of a sitcom, and there's like Dungeons and Dragons episode. There's an episode set like inside a video game, which is actually like really good. Which I was slightly worried about at first, because a lot of times if something's set in a video game, it's like really cringy and awful, but it was actually like one of the best episodes, and it's just so creative that you just can't get from other sitcoms that are really standard. They just do so many things that's cool, and you really grow to like these characters. And it does a lot less with a focus on kind of romance, which a lot of other sitcoms will do. I mean, even Friends, I'm pretty sure all the characters, even though it's called Friends, it's more about the characters being paired off in their romantic relationships. But in Community, they kind of take a back seat and actually explores themes of friendship and stuff. So it's just really good writing. Although apparently the 4th season, which I'm about to start watching, doesn't have Dan Harmon included, so that's not supposed to be as good. But you should definitely watch it.
On Netflix.
It is on Netflix and Amazon Prime.
Groovy.
And the cast have also recently got together and done a table read of one of the episodes with I can't think of it. Is it Pedro Pascal, the actor of The Mandalorian? Yeah. They did a table read with him for charity over Zoom, so they are still doing stuff. But it's on Netflix, so you can watch it.
Because Ben isn't a very big fan of Rick and Morty, are you?
No.
Well,
that's
just because it's a cartoon. But you'll probably like Community, Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, oh yeah, this is an okay sitcom for the first few episodes, but then I got really into it. I think it's one of those that grows on you.
Yeah. Shall I go next? Yeah. Right. So another sitcom. I want to recommend the Thick of It, which is like, if you've heard of like the political comedy Yes Minister that was like, which is like an older series. This is like the 21st century adaptation of it, and it's like it follows like this fictional department in the UK government called the Department of Social Affairs and Citizenship, which is basically like oversees a lot of other departments that's like similar to the Cabinet Office, and it's comedy focuses on like how inept a lot of politicians are and how lots of things that they do can come off really badly, and so they're enforced by this spin doctor called Malcolm Tucker, played by Peter Capaldi, who's absolutely epic because he's just like constantly swears and absolutely destroys people. Like his insults are just like legendary. You can just search compilations on YouTube. I can't really say any here because we're going to keep it clean, but no, it's really good, and it's most of the episodes are just around like a minister launching something like a campaign or something, and then they make a mistake, and basically Malcolm has to just like pull it all together and make it look good and absolutely just roast the politician. And the problem is, like, it was made in, originally it was 2005, and its last series was 2012, but it predicted a lot of like political stuff that came after it. So it's kind of funny that a comedy series can predict stuff that genuinely happens in the government. So yeah, I'd recommend that. It's only got like 23 episodes, and they're all half an hour long, so you can like binge it pretty easily, which is what I did. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Do you have a recommendation, Ollie?
I do. I'm not really sure if it'd be classified as a short story or a novella, because it's 25 pages long. And it's basically a story by E.M. Forster. It was written in 1909, and I sort of came across it, as you were saying with the thick of it. I know this is probably different, but predicting like political events. It's called The Machine Stops, I don't think I said, but it basically tells of like a dystopian future which isn't that dissimilar to sort of the lockdown and like life now with the pandemic. Basically, the human population has lost the ability to live on the surface of the earth. So, and there is like an omnipotent machine which, as the story progresses, there's like an emergence of, I guess, like cults which worship the machine, and there's basically like a juxtaposition between the two protagonists. One of them's called Vashti and one of them's called Kuno, and Vashti is Kuno's mum, who's sort of submissive with the whole ideology that everyone's forced to adopt. And it's sort of similar how she sort of goes on a lot of online lectures, and I guess you could compare it to like Zoom classes or whatever. And but her son, he's more sort of rebellious, and as it progresses, it's broken down to three parts. The first part is detailing sort of life living with this. It's titled The Airship, which is a method of transportation. Then the second part, start to see the son, who is going against the machine and the whole sort of not being allowed to go outside, and he is found outside, and you're basically made homeless if that's what you do. So then the third part, that's when the machine starts to break down in like its potency, and people start to sort of like what's his name again? Uno. They start to sort of break the rules, and there's less restrictions being put on being able to go outside, but then sort of left with a bit of ambiguity whether everyone that's outside is actually going to die, or whether they've sort of been tricked this whole time, whether it's sort of a commentary on like the rule of the machine, which has sort of indoctrinated all these people into believing in this ideology. I think it's to say it's from over 100 years ago. It's a really interesting sort of analysis on politics and sort of the way that society has to function, which is obviously relevant in current situation.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that, and it's meant to be very good.
It's not
definitely
too
give it a
long
read.
either. And you can get it for free on manybooks.net. I mean, what?
Wow. Incredible. Groovy. So, well, it's raining outside and there's been some lightning and there has been some power cuts recently, so I think we should probably wrap it up now.
Yeah.
So, thanks for listening. You can follow us on social media at ERV Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram, where we post clips from the episodes for your consumption. If you want to contact us to submit your work for review in like our 10-minute segment, then you can contact us on Twitter, Instagram, or the contact form on our website, which is entertainmentofexcellence.weebly.com. It's not WordPress anymore. We've got a new site, which you can find all of our episodes on, all of the ratings and everything. So you can do that. Share us with your friends, definitely. We're trying to grow a decent audience. When we get to 50 listeners on podcast platforms, we'll do a special episode where we do Blade Runner 2049, the long lost
Just
episode.
a lost episode.
Yeah.
We're also doing a few things to sort of like make the YouTube more professional. New thumbnails and timestamps in the videos and just sort of clearing up the YouTube platform.
Yeah, we'll be streamlining a lot of stuff like that. And most of all, what you can do that will help us the most is leave a review, even if it's just a couple sentences as a YouTube comment, or contact us and say something you didn't like. We're starting out and we'd really appreciate it if we could have some feedback on how we're doing. So
Yes.
yeah. Thanks for listening. All right, see you.
Right, I'll see you.
Yeah, that's it.